Hey, have you heard about Anchor? You probably haven't heard about Anchor yet, so let me tell you about it. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. You probably hear other people talk about how they make podcasts. If they say it's easy, they're crazy. All of their methods are really hard and complicated, but Anchor, super simple. First off, it's free. They have creation tools that let you make the podcast right from your phone. You don't even need a computer. This is 2019. Who uses computers anymore? Anchor distributes your podcast on all the other platforms. No need to go do all that complicated searching and hosting and posting. Hosting and posting. They do it for you. You can also make money from your podcast. Well, that's what I'm doing right now, because you're listening to this ad. They've got everything you need to make a podcast in one spot. No need to search around all over the place. No need to go to 20 different sites. Just one. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Bet you thought I was going to sing right here, didn't you?
Well, you've come to the wrong place. We're not the media. This is not ORM, OCM, OCRM, ORCM. This is OCR Talk.
Do you want to share your personal experience first, or you want me to?
You can go ahead.
Okay. So, we started, it was 7 o'clock. We got there ready to, actually, I got up at 3 a.m. because I had read something recently about Lindsay Webster talking about how Ryan Atkins loves getting up early, extra early, to be able to eat breakfast and let it digest and kind of just hang out a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm very used to getting up an hour before I need to leave so that I can just get ready, do the normal stuff. But then that doesn't really leave time to really digest breakfast,
right?
Especially running the early elite heats and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd try it out. I'm out here in the woods, hanging out with my family and friends. Why not? And so I got up at 3 all by myself and had my breakfast on the way to the venue and got out there. And man, they were still going.
Yeah.
It was, they hadn't slept that night. No. They were still working to get things ready. And another testament to just how they're a small crew, mm-hmm. and they're working their tails off to make this stuff happen. So I got out there and set my stuff up in the dark and set up my OCR Talk flag and put on my clothes and got ready. And I honestly, I liked the way I felt at the beginning of the race. Mm-hmm. Usually I struggle with either being too full or not full enough. And I think eating that early was super helpful. Now, I don't think I will go to the venue that early again next time. But I was staying in a one-room cabin with a loft with my family, so I didn't want to sit around there and disturb them.
Right.
But next time, that's my plan, is to get up that early again. I want to try that again next time, because I really like the way it made me feel stomach-wise.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And so when we started a little late, we started at 7, not 6, as we were supposed to. But my first lap, I was feeling really good. Now, so we started, and we noticed some people going out pretty fast.
Yeah.
I was noticeably looking at Lance Johnson, because I know he's a quick guy, mm-hmm. that runs long distances, and Zach, who I can't never remember his last name, but Zach, who has I've come second to twice at other battle events. Mm-hmm. So I was watching them, and I actually was keeping up with them. Now, Lance was ahead of us, but he actually kept getting lost, and we'd see him and be like, yeah. No, you got to go that way. So we were, me, him, and Zach were together for the most of the first lap. And like I said, at those wall climbs, we were all helping each other get over them. Mm-hmm. And there were 2 guys that were apparently ahead of all of us. Now, we did get lost in that muddy mess and here's what happened there. They were planning on us going through that lake, mm-hmm. that pond, but it dried up on them. Mm-hmm. So you could tell they already had flags going that way, yeah. But they hadn't taken them out. That was the problem, is that people got into the mud, and then they saw the other flags, and they were like, oh, well, this is the way to go. Well, no, it wasn't. You were supposed to turn back up the hill and then come around on the other side. Mm-hmm. So we all go through the mud pit, and then we're coming out of the mud pit up this hill, and we see all these people running by, and we're like, what in the world? And they're like, hey, you were supposed to go that way back there.
You weren't
And
even supposed to go down that hill.
so we ended up, getting in the mix with that crew. So I have no idea who passed us up there, but I know there were only 2 people that were ahead of any of us except for Lance. Lance ended up winning, but there was only 2 people ahead of me and Zach at that point. And so I don't know, did they pass us there, or was there just other issues that, timing issues that we won't get into because we don't have the chip times at this point. But that first lap I was with them, and at the end of it, I know I actually pulled away from Zach, which I was kind of surprised about, and then Lance pulled ahead of us. But as I said, the one thing I will mention about chip time issues, when we came out of the woods, like the first time, we saw somebody like basically going through the finish obstacles,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought to ourselves, there's no way, because there was another 1.5 miles left. So that put them easily, with obstacles and terrain, another half hour ahead of us.
Right.
It's like, how would they get that much time? Anyways, so that was my personal experience, is seeing somebody like way ahead of us, and all 3, me, Zach, and Lance, were all like, whoa, what the heck?
Yeah.
But so we kept them going, and I put in about the end of my second lap, I started feeling what I've come to think is low blood pressure, and I'm going to get a stress test this week actually to find that out,
Mm-hmm.
because my blood pressure has always been like in the good range, but every time you go to the doctor, you're resting. So
Right.
and I think my problem is that whenever I exercise, my blood pressure is going down instead of up to match my heart rate. And so that makes it to where it's like running feels like it exhausts me so fast. So I put in a good 10, 11 miles before that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, since I did think that maybe I was still in contention for the podium, I was like, well, I see Zach struggling. Turned out he ended up getting stung by hornets at one point.
Well, wow.
Or something. And so I was like, I'll just keep walking. I can walk the whole 8 hours and possibly still come away with something. So that's for the most part what I did. I ended up getting, I completed 3 laps.
Mm-hmm.
And on the last lap, I was asking, where's Zach? Where's Zach? And he was still out. And I was looking at when he left, trying to figure it out strategic wise. Do I need to go out? Is it possible that he'll do another one?
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up deciding whenever I'll go out, whenever I come back to the festival area for the first time, I'll find out, from whoever's around if he came through. And if he hasn't, if he's not gone back out again, I would just stop there, because there was no catching whoever was in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially since I couldn't run. So I just left it at that. So I came back out, had about 15 minutes till the time cut off. Zach came in shortly after he was done. And so I stopped at that point. And before I went out, on my third lap, I actually tore my hand, and it was just one tear. It wasn't too bad. But those gloves that I got,
Mm-hmm.
the little Spartan forfeit.
Oh, the Fit 4 gloves?
Fit 4 gloves?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had those as my backup plan, and they ended up working great. So I took a Band-Aid, put it over where I tore my hand, and then put those on over it, and my hand felt pretty comfortable. Like grabbing things, I didn't have any issues after that. So I don't think I'll wear those to start out any race, but I do think on a race where I don't come back into a pit, I might stick them in my pockets because they're so small. And I love wearing those Highlight shorts with the little pockets, and that's where I put all my gels and stuff. I'm going to stuff them in there just as a precaution, because I think they worked really well for that.
Yeah, that's what's good about them, is they're so compact, and you can just kind of stuff them anywhere, and you can bring them along with you.
Yeah, and having the ones that wrap all the way around your wrist, that would be a lot more cumbersome.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly a little bit more secure, but more tricky to bring out just as a just in case kind of thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I finished with just over 20 miles. I was on lap 4 and stopped on lap 4. And you can see on Instagram, I took a picture with that cutout. What's her name? What's the girl that brought the woodworking stuff?
Oh, Ashley. Ashley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley, she brought that little cutout, and I took a picture with it, and I wrote, she had it to where you could write on it with chalk.
Yeah.
So I wrote on it, I quit on my 4th lap. Which, is really for strategic purposes. And I was already, suffering, and I didn't want to push myself too hard because I knew I was going to have, I was having issues already.
Yeah.
and then really there was no point podium placement wise. So I stopped there, and at that point I felt okay. But once I started like, okay, let me start drinking some water, let me eat some stuff to like replenish what I've lost, I started getting a little nauseous. So my stomach was feeling a little rough. So all the time that you saw me just laying around,
Yeah.
that's why. It's because that's why I didn't get a snowball, and that's why I was just kind of like, I don't think I really talked to anybody after that because I just felt really crappy.
Yeah, you were kind of quiet after
Yeah.
the race. It was
Yeah.
completely understandable though. I think the heat got to everybody by the end of the race.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've read, that low blood pressure, that's one thing that hits it hard is high heat.
Mhm.
So that reminds me, every time I got into a creek to try to stave off that heat exhaustion,
Yeah.
I would run through the creek, and just before you get out of the creek, I would lay down in it. And I'd lay
Mhm.
down, take a moment, turn over, put my face in it.
Yeah. Try and cool down your core.
Yeah, and the very last, that fourth lap, I did it one time, and I was like, I can't do this anymore because I'm not gonna want to get up
Yeah.
and keep going. So, but yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I wish I could have performed better, which I'm working on finding out what the problem is with that. So hopefully next
Mhm.
time. But I was proud of how I pushed myself through to get to where I did, and I didn't have any issues with any obstacles. I had to redo the rope swing one time. I just missed the net, but besides that, I was able to make it through it all.
And you did all the obstacles. Good for you.
Yep. So I had a good time. Obviously there was podium issues, but besides that, I really did enjoy myself.
Well, that's good. And that's really what it's all about. I mean,
Right.
personally, my experience was a little more um I guess it was like soul searching. Just because I've had time to reflect on it, and I've had pretty much that whole day to think about it and everything, and I got a little into my own, or a little too much into my own head on that
Mm.
first lap. And
How so? Like,
so I had studied the map, and I'm kind of like Ryan Atkins and Lindsay Webster in that aspect, where I'm like really studying this map. Like, what obstacles are these? What obstacles are grouped together? Where's my running portions that I can really open up on? Things like that. The thing that got me was like, or it didn't get me, but the surprise factor in that was the elevation, of course, because I don't think anybody expected those kind of climbs during that race,
right.
especially on that trail. So that was kind of like a wild card factor. But I felt really good coming into this race. I had felt really confident in my training. I had put more miles on my feet, and I was training a lot more and doing a lot more heavy carries and endurance trainings. And coincidentally, some of my workouts that I've done with, me and a couple of my friends in Baton Rouge, I wasn't able to make it first thing in the morning, so I would
Mm.
either end up sleeping in and having to go work out in the middle of the day in the heat. So it was, the heat didn't really bother me too much until, my last lap. We started the course, and we went under those over under throughs, and I was feeling really good. I had settled into a really good rhythm really early on, and like, it just felt like, it just kind of felt like riding a bicycle to me. And I was feeling really confident and keeping a good pace. And I felt like I was in a really comfortable pace and had a really comfortable groove going. And I was behind y'all.
Yep.
And I was like, man, I know my pace is kind of faster than, it's kind of the top end of where I thought I was going to start at, but I feel like I could keep up this pace all day. Like, this is pretty doable. And my heart rate was under control, and I was feeling really good. And then I followed
Were
the,
you out front for the ladies?
yes,
Okay.
because I didn't see any other girls in front of me, because all I saw was y'all in front of me.
Okay.
And so that's why I followed y'all down the creek bed. I could see y'all in my distance, in the distance. I was behind y'all. I wasn't super close behind y'all, but I was a good ways away to where y'all were constantly in my eyesight, and I was,
So were you
keeping
in
up.
the muddy pit the same time we
Oh
were?
my god. as soon as I went down that embankment and as soon as I stepped into that mud, it went halfway up my body. And as soon as I stepped in it, I was like, this isn't right. This
Jeez.
isn't right. This isn't right. This isn't right. And I started getting panicked and frustrated. And I'm like trying to make my way out. And I can see y'all like struggling through the same thing I am. And I'm trying to climb up the embankment to where it's a little less deep because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm starting to panic and I'm like, oh my God, this feels like quicksand. like I'm gonna die down here. No, but yeah, so I'm trying to climb up the embankment and I hear one of the guys up front shout. I heard somebody shout, "Oh, we're supposed to go up over here," or something like that. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to make my way over there." So I'm like fighting my way over there and I'm getting gas because now I've got like pounds and pounds of mud on me and on my
Yeah.
feet. And I'm trying to climb my way and climbing up that embankment, it was super steep. So as I'm climbing up the embankment, I see people just running along the top and I'm like, those people, I'm like, oh no, those people were in the back. Oh no, oh no, oh no. And I start to just so I'm like, okay, just keep going. Just it is what it is. You just have to keep going. So I start running along and I'm like, but then I'm getting more frustrated because I'm like, dang it, now I have to play catch up. I hate playing catch up. This is not how I wanted to start this race. I've got 15 pounds of mud on each leg and I'm trying to run the same pace I was going before and it's just not happening. And I'm trying to play catch up this whole time. And that was like the downhill from there because as soon as that started going, it just started snowballing for me. Like, even though I tried to like tell myself it's just the first lap, just sit back, relax, just keep going, just keep moving. There was like these two voices in my head that were fighting against each other, like
Yeah.
like you're trying to be positive, but it's not a positive situation. so so I'm trying to fight my way back, and I ended up ultimately catching up with Cherish and Daniel and her friend Debbie, and I ended up staying with them for pretty much most of the race, or most of that first lap anyway. And yeah, we make it to that kettlebell swing, and I've kind of made up a little ground, and I'm trying to get back my mental game, I guess you could say. And like I said, the volunteer didn't tell us, like, one was for the men and one was for the ladies. And I have one of those sand kettlebells at home that's like filled to capacity, and I
Oh.
train with that on the regular. And I'm like, why can I all of a sudden not throw this stupid thing? And every single time I threw it, and I'm so hard-headed when it comes to this, because it's like I pick up one, I'm gonna complete it with that one that I started with, because there shouldn't be any reason why I can't do it. I'm like, why can't I throw this stupid thing over that stupid pole over there? I just started getting so mad, and
Did you try any different throws, or did you just do
Oh
the
yeah.
like swing between your legs?
Oh no, I tried several different throws. I tried several different techniques,
Did you
and
try to shot put it?
yes, I tried to shot put it, and like, well, the sand would like, because it shifts. So,
That's awesome.
I mean, I try not to curse, but curse words were flying out of my mouth. And Daniel was at the Z wall, at the floating Z wall, and he was calling back to me. He was like, "It's okay, you got this." He was, trying to encourage me. And finally, I just took a deep breath. I'm like, "Anna, you're throwing a fit and you're acting like a kid." So I told the volunteer, I was like, "I need my coach over here." I was like, "I could really use my coach right about now." And so Daniel comes back running over, and he's like, "What you need? What you need? You got this. Just throw it over. Just throw it over." I'm like, "It's not happening. I don't know why I can't do this stupid task. It's not even an obstacle. This is stupid." I'm like in one of those modes. And I'm like, and then I just stop. I was like, "Daniel, I just need you to yell at me. Can you just yell at me? Can you just yell at me and tell me that I'm acting ridiculous and I just need to suck it up and whatever?" So he yelled at me. He was like, "Come on, suck it up." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." And then that's whenever I was like, let's approach this smarter. Let's turn around and try the other one. So I
That's when
turned.
you turned.
That's when I turned around and I was like, "Let's
So
work."
Daniel didn't realize that it was men
No,
on one side,
no, no,
women's on
no
the
one
other?
knew. No one knew at that point. So, well, I don't know that anybody knew going into it, but we don't know that anybody knew that going into it. But
Yeah.
so I just turned around. I was like, let's work smarter, not harder. Okay. So I just simply turned around and tried the kettlebell throw that was right behind me. And lo and behold, I got it on my first try. No problem with room to spare on the other side. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but I'll take it. So so I pulled the kettlebell back across and I was done, and then went to the floating Z walls and then the walls and everything. And then yeah, and we ended up coming to Limitless and thinking, I've been here. I think I've been here before, but we had gotten turned around so many times on the course, and I think we had gone onto some penalty loops maybe, but by the time we got to Limitless, our watches were pretty much almost at 7 miles, I think. And so we knew we had got
Seriously?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we got to Limitless, and that's whenever Jamie, one of the photographers at the obstacle, was like, "No, Limitless is supposed to be like the 5th obstacle on the course." But then I was
Oh,
like,
man.
"Wait, no." But then whenever I look back on it, I came home and I looked back at the map again. It was supposed to be the 5th obstacle on the course, I believe. But I think they had done some
But they
shuffling.
changed it.
Yeah, right. Correct.
Yeah, because it
So,
was later in the race,
oh, yeah. It
for
was
sure.
towards the end. So, went through Limitless, and god, that was killer on my hands. But it was fun. I liked it. I always like the monkey bars. Yeah, it's always fun.
Yeah. Now, you were talking about getting lost, and we were talking about the course markings earlier.
Right.
I know they said, follow the white tape and don't follow the red tape.
But then they had some that had white and red tape, and I think that was
Yes.
supposed to be penalty loops, but it wasn't quite clear like where the penalty loop started or ended, or where you were supposed to get back on course or anything like that. Like that was very unclear to me.
Yeah, the only penalty loop that was like, oh yeah, this is the penalty loop for this obstacle was the rings, but then it got shut down,
Right.
so
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that got shut down. And then that was confusing too, because the very first lap we were able to go through the rings. So we just went through the rings and then you went on through. So it kind of threw me off that we didn't do the rings the next lap. But then I mean the trail just went around the obstacle. So it wasn't too
Yeah.
terrible. But yeah, it was whenever we came to Limitless and we thought it was supposed to be the 5th obstacle, we're like, okay, where do we get turned around?
Y'all thought y'all were really lost.
Yeah, we thought we had made our way back to the beginning of the course. Basically, we're like, okay, I have no clue where we're going now, because I see yellow flags, or I see white flags that way, and I see white flags that way, so I don't know which way to go anymore. So we just went through, and then we just kept going through the course, and then so by the time we all finished our first lap, they were like, yeah, well, some people are already out on their second lap at this point, and yeah, at that point I was like, my whole strategy of having an unbroken first and second lap just completely went out the window. And
Nice.
I had planned and strategized and everything leading up to this race, and I had practiced that way and trained that way, and like all this hard work. So I guess it was just a culmination of like I had put so much training into how I was going to approach this race and what I was going to do and how I was going to hydrate, and just all those little things that are going to matter on race day. I felt like I had practiced and I had trained that way, and I had put myself in those conditions to where I was going to be hot and tired and miserable, but I was still going to have to keep going. And, come to find out, there was course issues and people who were already on their second lap that had course issues on their first lap. And then, so at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun with it. Like, it is what it is. Like, you can plan and you can plan and you can plan, and this is just a prime example of it. Sometimes it won't really matter, and you just have to adapt. And the timing lady was like, yeah, so because me and Cherish had gone head to head in Mandeville. She had completed 4 laps with me in Mandeville, but she ended up finishing after
Yeah.
me. So we had gone head to head in Mandeville. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise because we had never actually gotten a chance to like get to know each other or talk to each other before Saturday. But yeah, we went out on our second lap together, and like we were running, we practically ran that whole second lap together, and
Nice.
ran the whole time, and yeah, and got to know each other. So it was really cool. It was a lot of fun, and I was like, man, I knew this girl was awesome. I just never got a chance to know her. So it was kind of cool to get to do that with a fellow competitor, especially because like I hadn't seen her since Mandeville last year. So I was like, I mean,
Yeah.
this girl's just awesome. Other than that, there was other issues that contributed to like, I just want to enjoy my race at this point.
Right.
Kind of that kind of mentality is just like I just kind of want to enjoy my race at this point. If it's going to hurt me more than help me to push myself, and it's not going to matter in the end, then, I'm just going to have fun with it. I'm not going to stress out over it. I'm going to stop stressing out over it, and I'm just going to have fun. And one of the cool things about my race on Saturday is that I knew I wasn't going to win again. Because that was just a given at that point because of all the issues that they were having with timing and with other things.
Oh yeah.
So I knew that wasn't going to happen. And, I don't know. I mean, I just had fun, like going through the course and lapping through the course and like really getting to chat with some of the open heaters that were going through. One of my laps, this girl and her boyfriend were running with me because they were first timers out on the course. And I was kind of giving them pointers on like how to attempt certain obstacles, and they're like, "Oh man, I like running with you." And I mean, they were having a blast. And I mean, I guess it just kind of put it all in perspective for me because I may have not been having the best race that I could have had that day, but like being able to run with a lot of those people that were just out there having a good time with their friends. Like, this is why I do this. I don't do it for the podiums. I don't do it for the Facebook posts. I know that's why a lot of people are into all this stuff, but I mean, I don't. I just don't. It's so much more fulfilling to me to like be out there with a whole bunch of my friends and get to see y'all, since I don't get to see all y'all a lot of the times except for at races, and like get to have that experience for a whole day, and we get to all suffer together and like be miserable and and feel like crap afterwards.
Yeah, I think that is probably the best takeaway that you can have is this is a small local race. We weren't out there, nobody was out there competing for $10,000.
Exactly.
They had issues, but if you could get past that and still enjoy yourself, and really more than anything, it's just a test for how are you going to do at World's Toughest whenever something goes away that you weren't planning on.
Right. Exactly.
How are you going to handle it? Are you going to
Exactly.
throw a fit,
Right.
or are you going to step up and just keep on moving forward?
Exactly. And this being a smaller race and me having so much success in the women's Warzone heat in the past, I kind of, I mean,
It puts that pressure on you.
I did have a little pressure on me coming into the race, and I knew Cherish was going to be there, and I knew she was a legit competitor, and I knew my friend Ashley was coming because I talked her crazy butt into it. And I knew she was a really strong runner. So, I knew I had some competition going into this race. But that's the thing is like, I told this to Cherish whenever we were running together. It was like, I love the fact that a lot more women are getting into this endurance stuff, because like this endurance club isn't just a boys club anymore. Like there are legit women out there who can be endurance runners and complete obstacles and do the running and put themselves through hell and enjoy it. And
Yeah.
enjoy it
And be tougher than a lot of the guys are.
exactly. And the thing about the endurance stuff is I guess what my biggest takeaway too from all of it was it really is not all about the podium, because yeah, I've enjoyed getting first place in the past, whatever, but I really didn't feel any different getting second place this past weekend. Like I really didn't, because like you said, we're not out there competing for money. We're getting awards, yeah, and yeah, we can make that Facebook post that brags about, oh, I got this place and, I did this many laps. But at the same time, it's really not about that because I'm going to get on my soapbox here. Okay. It's really not about that with the endurance stuff because there's not a lot of people that are that elite of a runner to be able to go into those endurance races and really compete for that first place, second place, third place. If you're in an endurance event, like if you're running even just a trail run, 50 miler, 100 miler, it's more of like a personal thing for you. It's a lot more personal and a lot more intimate experience for yourself because
For
this
sure.
is a goal that you've set for yourself that you may not be on that level to contend for first, second, or third, but you've set a personal goal for yourself that you're going to do X amount of laps or X amount of miles. And if you do that, that's your personal achievement and nobody can take that away from you. And I want to use my friend Nathan as an example. He runs for Team Blue Line. He's reviewed our podcast a couple times, Nathan Beiser.
Mm-hmm.
He runs for Team Blue Line. And he was running Warzone on Saturday. And he had run Warzone previously in the past. And he had never been able to get more than one lap. Additionally, he's also been dealing with some health issues himself, and he's been very candid about his health issues that he's been dealing with, being diagnosed with diabetes and, trying to struggle with that and trying to make himself healthier for himself.
Well, yeah.
So it was his personal goal to, train his butt off. I mean, he trains harder than anyone I know, gets up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning and trains, and then would go to the park and train, and then go. And recently he's started going to a gym to train with a personal trainer because now he's going for his personal training certification. I mean, this guy is literally a beast. He's literally beast mode. Recently he found out from his doctor that he could get off his diabetic medication. So that's like a huge accomplishment for him.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
huge
awesome.
accomplishment for him. And I'm so proud of him. So proud of him. And he's like such an inspiration to everyone out there that just wants themselves to be healthier for themselves or their families or
Right.
just to be healthier.
Yeah, and to be able to put to be able to put that much work in, it doesn't matter where you are in life.
Yeah.
If he's only completing one lap and I'm completing 3 or 4, that doesn't matter. I see that guy's Facebook post and I can tell everybody that I know he works out harder than I do.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And he has a full-time job and 2 kids and a wife. And it's like, where does this guy find the energy? Because I need some desperately. But yeah, like I am super proud of how he did on Saturday. That was like such an incredible achievement for him because he got that second lap, and that was freaking awesome. I am super freaking proud of him because he works his tail off day in and day out. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, is like that kind of achievement, that kind of goal that you set for yourself. No one can take that away from you, and no one can cheat you out of that.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna get off my soapbox now.
All right. So speaking of working hard and personal goals and whatnot, let's talk about Daniel for a second. I know Daniel's leading workouts with you guys, and
Yes, he's amazing.
He according to Facebook, he's putting in again more work than I feel like I am. So I see the guy pushing and working hard all the time. And before this race, I know I've raced with him before and seen him kind of go out a little strong and then kind of fall back because of that.
Right.
And so I told him at the beginning, I said, "You're gonna pace yourself this time?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "All right, if you're with Lance, you're going too fast. Let's stop, slow down." So I noticed he did go out slower out of the gate. So I felt like I was proud of him for that.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what happened. If he just had, decided I'm going to keep a slower pace this time, because he said he wanted to run the whole time. But then later he got caught in that mud pit. Do you have any idea what happened there?
I have no clue. I was on my second lap with Cherish, and I had no clue what had happened. And I remember Nancy, one of the staff members, had come up to me, and she's like, did you catch up with Daniel? I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'm like thinking, I'm like, oh no, oh my gosh, he got dehydrated or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I just got to make it to the finish. I got to just make it to the finish as quick as I can. And then whenever I was going over the cargo net, the festival bridge, that's whenever his sister-in-law and her kids were walking into the festival, and she told me he was all covered in mud. I was like, oh no.
He was about head to toe almost.
Oh no. And then I saw the picture that she had posted on Facebook after the fact. I was like, how did you? I was like, I know exactly where that happened because that almost happened to me. But yeah, I still don't know how that transpired. And I mean, I'm terrible. I haven't even asked him like how he even ended up there.
Daniel, please comment on the Facebook post for this episode and let us all know what happened out there.
We need to know. Because I'm a bad girlfriend and I didn't ask. I was just so worried that like he had dehydrated himself or something like that and he was having to like cool down under the tent or something. And yeah. But
well,
yeah.
I never really got a chance to tell Daniel how much I appreciate that he brought me out. Because my car was even further past the parking lot because it was at this little house where the volunteers were staying.
Oh gosh.
But he drove me over to my car to bring it back and pick up all my stuff because there's no way. Like I said, I was, just feeling terrible. So
yeah.
I really appreciated that.
He's a good guy. Good coach.
That's good. Anything else that you want to say about the event before we sign off here?
No, I think it is yeah.
It was an intense, crazy weekend.
Yeah, it was an intense experience, and I think there's a lot of things that can be improved upon. There's a lot of positive things that were really great, and I'm just really glad that they had this event.
Sid's only got upwards to go. He can only get better. So,
definitely.
As good as it is already, he's definitely got room to grow and can only keep improving.
Yeah, he's got a good foundation, and the battle crew has just, they're a whole bunch of really dedicated, hardworking people who definitely want to see this event succeed because we need more events like this down here, and we love bringing these events to the people down here because we really don't get enough of these.
Yeah. And maybe Sid, just don't do it in the middle of summer next time.
Yeah, he said never again. Never again. He was asking how he could improve, the conditions for the people running Warzone next time. And
Number one.
We're like, AC.
All right. Well, I think we can sign off there. You good?
Yeah, I think I'm happy with it. My kids are going crazy in the background.
Yeah. Well, I will definitely break this in 2 episodes.
Okay.
And post them throughout the week here. So thank you everybody for listening. If y'all were out at that event, the people that we got to see, thank you so much for talking to us and saying hello. And see you at the next one.
Yep.
I'm doing a little trail race. Just going to do a few laps night run
nice.
This weekend instead of like going the full 9 hours that I signed up for.
Oh gosh, was that the night run that? Oh yeah, that was the night run that you had talked about a few weeks ago, huh?
Yep, the La Nuit. So I gotta figure out what's going on with me first. So I'll just go it'll just be my training run for the weekend, which will be nice at night.
Yeah.
Out of the heat.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good luck with that. That sounds fun though. And at least you won't have to contend with the heat and with your stress test and everything. If you need a good cardiologist, I may know some people.
Okay, I'll let you know.
But yeah, it was good seeing everybody. It was good catching up with everybody as always at the event. And happy training to everybody. And on to the next.
On to the next one. See you guys soon. Don't forget to follow, listen, and talk.
And talk. What he said.
Declan, you want to say hello?
No.
Bye.